Okay, now welcome back to episode 8, continued of Journey into Freedom. I am your host, Red Gypsy. Our co-host, Scarlett, will be contacting us and joining us again very quickly. We apparently got cut off at the definition of the word disease, so we're going to go back there. Because, well...
Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. I've been feeling it since 1966 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still.
Yep, we still feeling it.
Ooh, I'm a rebel just for kicks now. Let me kick it like it's 1986 now. Might be over now, but I feel it still. Might have had your fill, but I feel it still.
And so, yeah, we are going to pick it back up. I am sure Scarlett's going to join us momentarily because I do believe she's now going to be monitoring to see what's going on there. But disease, again, to recap, was a condition of the living animal or plant body or of one of its parts that impairs normal functioning and is typically manifested by distinguishing signs and symptoms or a harmful development. Now, that was then followed by the definition of virus from Scarlett. But she's not here yet. He's so loud. I apologize. So, maybe... I don't know. Let's see if it will let me. I don't know if it will. But we are about to find out. Does it let us call her?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Do you know if we're on?
We're live. We've been live for 3 minutes and 41 seconds.
Okay. Good.
Supposedly.
I'm going to check to make sure that that is actually happening. Okay. I'm starving. So setting up my new fancy air fryer thing. While we're on air, and then by, have some tasty food eventually. Okay, so we're going to go to freerevolutionnetwork.com, where you can also listen. And then you go to FRN Radio, and then you hit the show schedule for Sunday, and there is Journey into Freedom right there. Then you scroll down. Okay, and I'm going to mute myself for 1 second.
She is probably checking on...
Make sure you talk.
I was just talking. was totally talking.
Say anything. That helps.
I am speaking. Hello, hello, hello. I'm speaking to you. Hi.
Okay, that's good. Can you turn up the volumes or anything, or make sure your speakerphone's super loud? Because we're just a little quieter than we were before.
All my volumes are up.
Okay. Just check. I just gotta check, because like I said, we just sound a little quieter than we did before. But continue.
Okay.
So we are back. We are live on the website. I am in chat, but I am not able to log in as myself right now for whatever reason, so I am guest 618-2097 if you find me in chat.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. My chat password, I'll get it reset tomorrow, but right now, Minute Chat is hating on me. So, cool.
Right.
But I believe we should have the chat role over here and not the Minute Chat, if I'm not mistaken. That might just be like an error. But we will have our webmaster fix that.
Mm-hmm.
So, continue.
Well, actually, I just recapped the definition of disease, and that was followed by your definition of virus.
All right. So, the definition of virus. It'd take me 1 second to get back over that because I didn't have it necessarily up.
Right.
But, there it is. At least it shows me. Ooh, interesting. This one has an additional, we'll do both. An infective agent that typically consists of nucleic acid molecule in a protein coat and is too small to be seen by light microscopy and is able to multiply only within the living cells of a host. Or a piece of code which is capable of copying itself and typically has a detrimental effect, such as corrupting the system or destroying data.
Huh.
Which is interesting that, computer virus and, virus have very similar definitions, right?
Right?
So then, the Merriam-Webster definition is usually a submicroscopic infection that is regarded as non-living, extremely complex molecules that contain a protein coat surrounding an RNA or DNA core of genetic material, but no semi-permeable membrane, that are capable of growth and multiplication only in living cells, and that cause various important diseases in humans, plants, and animals.
Interesting.
Right? Or B, a disease or illness caused by a virus, or the causative agent of an infectious disease, or something that poisons the mind or soul. Yeah, poison the mind or soul. It comes from the Latin venom, poisonous emanation akin to the Greek ius, poison, or Sanskrit visa, in senses 1 and 3 from New Latin.
Right. Now, since we had done that, was vaccine after disease? No, it was before. So we got vaccine in. Okay. So this really was where we were jumping to our really good stuff.
It was.
Okay.
Which doesn't surprise me that that's where we get cut off as the good stuff, right? I don't trust it either, Ed. But what I can say is that, it
Yes. So, in lieu of a non-compliance of censorship, we will trudge forward. And what we were about to break open is a trigger warning. And we are marked explicit now.
Correct.
Because
just in case that's what, got us taken off.
So I had forgotten to do it.
Right, which is possible. I mean, I don't know how this system necessarily works for situations like that, but I mean, no.
We are getting around to, let's do the word mandate. Do you want to do that one for us?
Yeah, we can do mandate. Mandate. Definition. The definition of mandate is an authoritative command or especially a formal order from a superior court or an official to an inferior one, or an authorization to act given to a representative, or a commission or order granted by the League of Nations to a member action of a responsible government over a former German colony or other conquered territory, or a mandated territory. That's really interesting.
Isn't it interesting?
League of Nations, that's really interesting that it comes into play.
Yeah, and Germany.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about mandated vaccines now, because that's what we've been leading up to.
Right.
Now, medical mandated vaccination is medical rape.
Correct. And medical battery.
Medical battery. Now, we learned that during the actual show that we thought we were doing that we weren't doing. Just a little bit ago.
But now we'll have to talk about medical battery again. Shoot, yeah, I forget about it. Dang it. Damn new show that existed that didn't exist, but only to us.
Right.
Damn it.
Okay, so rape, by definition, is an outrageous violation. First definition of rape, an outrageous violation. Stop right there. Mandated vaccination is an outrageous violation. The actual definition of rape.
Right.
Now, it also means an act or instance of robbing or despoiling or carrying away a person by force.
Correct.
Stop right there. Mandated vaccination is, in fact, robbing, despoiling of my person by force.
That's true.
So, again, we have to repeat this, and I'm sorry, but hopefully this flows like it did before because it was really good. Mandated vaccination is medical rape. You can't change my mind.
Word.
Okay?
Because that was my rally sign at the Capitol was forced vax is medical rape. Change my mind. And you bring up a good point with that, like I said, and we'll say again, is that you can't change my mind on this one actually, because changing my mind would imply that there is something about the opinion or the you explaining something to me. And that is not possible. Therefore, no, you cannot change my mind.
That's right. And as I said before, which I'm going to repeat again, I think I can speak for you on this now, that we did this earlier, and I know how you feel. We are done asking anyone else's permission to withhold our constitutional rights.
Right.
Your
I don't need
opinions,
to ask to be an American.
your opinions and your feelings do not matter when it comes into context of my constitutional rights. Don't infringe on my rights. I don't infringe on your rights.
Right.
Okay? Now,
Very true.
when we say change our mind, it means that we're leaving open this window of opportunity. Like, we're not secure in our research, our knowledge, and our intelligence.
Like we're asking for knowledge or to be
Right.
educated on it.
Like we're asking permission for our own self-sovereignty. Which that's a word we didn't bring the definition up on. Do you want to bring up that definition of sovereignty, please?
Yes, I will. After one quick comment. Because there was one definition that talked about having a conversation of reason and objectivity.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe in that context we could have the potentially change my mind conversation. But that would have to go with also they'd have to use facts, data, and
knowledge.
The other definition, which I don't know if anybody's really capable of doing that right now.
Right.
Okay, so serenity.
Mm-mm. Oh yes, sovereignty.
Yeah, that's what you just. I was gonna say.
I thought you said. I thought I heard serenity. And I thought, yes, I need serenity, dear, but that's not the word.
But that is a word.
No, I totally went Godsmack on you for a moment and was like, yes, I need serenity, but that's not the word I wanted you to look up.
Oh, what word do you want me to look up?
Sovereignty.
Serenity, yeah.
No. Sovereignty.
Oh, sovereignty.
Thank you.
Okay, sovereignty.
Thank you.
Got it. That's why we be best friends. I understand you even.
Sometimes my accent. I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
So, 1. Supreme power, especially over a body politic. Now, a body politic is a group of persons politically organized under a single government authority, or a corporation, or people considered as a collective unit. Okay, so remember that. So supreme power, especially over a body politic. Freedom from external control, also
external
autonomy.
External control.
Yes. Also, and then they put the colon though, autonomy, right? So we're going to go to autonomy real quick.
Right.
Quality or state of being self-governing.
Right.
Especially the right of self-government.
Right.
The self-directing freedom and especially moral independence. Personal autonomy. A self-governing state. Okay? So, or controlling influence is the direct definition of sovereignty. 2, one that is sovereign, especially an autonomous state. So we already went to that, so we know what that is. Or obsolete, supreme excellence, or an example of it.
Supreme. So when I say self-sovereignty, I am talking supreme power over self. I am also talking about, repeat that definition again, number, I think it was 2.
One that is sovereign, especially an autonomous state. or freedom from external control. Autonomy.
Freedom of external control. We are guaranteed
Or
this
a
constitutionally.
controlling influence is also a definition.
Okay, we are guaranteed self-sovereignty constitutionally.
Mm-hmm.
When you are mandating medical procedures, such as vaccinations, you are infringing on
our
my...
autonomy.
On what?
On our autonomy, because the autonomy is the quality or state of being self-governing.
Correct.
So you are stifling my personal autonomy.
Correct. Now,
Okay, because a synonym for autonomy is free will, choice, volition. There is no antonyms for it. Okay?
mhm.
Isn't that interesting? Because freedom is freedom. They don't even make no antonyms in the dictionary for it.
Right. Now, we said medical rape. Rape being an outrageous violation. Violation. So let's go with the word violate.
Okay, violate.
Break. Disregard. To do harm to the person or especially the chastity. To fail to show proper respect for. Interpret. Disturb.
You know, chastity could be used as an argument in the HPV vaccination alone.
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to give the definition of chastity?
Yes. Let's give the definition of chastity. Chastity. Okay. Chastity is the quality or state or being chaste. Okay. And chaste is innocent of unlawful sexual intercourse, celibate, pure in thought and act, or modest, severely simple in design or execution, or clean and spotless. Such as abstention from, so the definition of chastity is the quality or state of being chaste, which means abstention from unlawful sexual intercourse, abstention from all sexual intercourse, purity in conduct and intention, or restraint and simplicity in design or expression. And the number 2 definition is personal integrity.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
Learn something new every day by reading the dictionary.
You ain't never lied.
Damn.
Like, seriously.
It's that easy.
I mean, honestly,
It's that easy to gain knowledge. Who knew?
who knew?
Do you remember
Just
back in
read
the day, Scarlett, when we used to say people are just ignorant because they don't have access to knowledge? Do you remember when we used to say that?
Right.
Girl,
Like,
that wasn't the problem.
Well, because you know what I mean? They're like, oh, third world countries can't do better, so we need to get them books because then they'll have knowledge and then they'll do better for themselves.
Girl, that wasn't the problem.
Uh-uh.
That was never the problem. We was so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because people have, I'm going to bring up a stupid meme right now. I'm going to do it. Because people will take no time to research what you're talking about reasonably with them. But we'll take 15 minutes to take a test to find out what kind of fucking potato they are. Potato!
I think that's the truth.
Okay. Just
what's your spirit animal quiz?
Right. But you won't take 5 minutes.
I do want to know what my spirit animal is,
but I would rather go actually research it and find out what it is than take some stupid quiz that somebody just made up to make me feel better and put a bunch of crap on.
interesting, though, that chastity means personal integrity.
Yes.
You know, everybody thinks always chastity, like chastity belt, you know, but just personal integrity.
Right. Right. And I think that's important. Personal integrity. Because
purity in conduct and intention.
Okay, I was just about to say, because integrity is something that I think we've lost.
True. Like they said, in restraint and simplicity in design or expression, right?
Right.
So just having restraint in the way you express yourself, we've lost chastity in that alone.
Right.
Men don't act like men. You know, I've been loving those memes that I've been seeing, like, oh, it's time for the roaring 20s and men should all start wearing tailored suits again. I love that idea because it brings back restraint of expression.
This is why
where men were gentlemen and you know, you didn't get in arguments in public and, you know.
This is, oh my God, this is why we be best friends right now. Because I'm bringing Peanut Gallery into this conversation for just a second. Me and Peanut Gallery literally just had this conversation like maybe 45 minutes or so before the show started. It might have been a little longer than that. But I said to him, babe, look, the 20s officially come back in just like 2 weeks. We should all start dressing like this again. And it was a picture of all the men in front of the old Ford with their suits on. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, no, listen, I think if we brought back the suits alone would bring back a time in which that we could remember things. Now, for me, it went.
Because even a rabbit can be classy in a waistcoat.
He's like 6 years younger than me. He was cousins with one of the young boys that passed away, you know, in my younger years. Okay, I hung out with this crowd of younger kids that looked up to us, right? He had posted that and was like, would anybody be mad if I brought these suits back? I think we need to bring this back. And now we're going to start dressing all Dapper Dan. And I was like, honestly, I think it's a good idea.
Here's my thing. Now, see, I went somewhere else with it. Where I went with it is those suits back in that time, okay, in the roaring 20s, stood for a little something else too. It's a little deeper, darker secret, okay? Not that it really was a secret, but let's be for real. All the mafias wore the suits.
Yep, that's true.
Okay? And what did that truly represent? Now, as bad as the mafias were, the one thing that they all represented was a time where the government feared its people.
True.
The government was very much in check.
True.
If we start bringing back that mentality again, that we are self-governing, because that is what our Constitution is set up for, is for us to be self-governing.
You know, and it's interesting because I just, you know, it made me think about like zoot suits and stuff and how zoot suits were actually banned in the Second World War because they said that there was like an abuse of class and this and that. But, you know, that stood for a group of people who didn't take no shit and who were usually musicians and street gangs and you know what I mean? But it's really interesting. Like, there was a whole culture based off of this, and I think if we brought back some of these, you know, if men actually paid attention to their appearance in a way that made them care for themselves, it might change their actions.
Right.
You know, it would bring back the institution of barbershops where you would go and get, you know, a straight razor shave and get your hair cut and add pomade because you were in a dapper suit and you needed a pocket square and you needed a pocket watch. And you know what I mean? And you needed your shoes shined because you wanted to look your absolute best at all times.
Right.
It was a different world.
Right.
You know, it was a different place of care in our mind.
Right. Now, the word break. Break is to make or affect by cutting, forcing, or pressing through.
That's the definition of break, huh?
To split the surface of. To effect a penetration. So,
Interesting.
vaccinations themselves split the surface of my skin and affect a penetration. Assault.
No.
Oh, what was your huh?
My how was the third definition was archaic to force entry into.
Mm-hmm.
For break, the definition.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you trying to break into my butt?
Right.
That's all.
Assault is a violent, physical, or verbal attack.
Right.
It is a threat or attempt to inflict offensive physical contact or bodily harm on a person that puts a person in immediate danger of or in apprehension of such harm or contact.
Interesting.
Offensive physical contact.
Offensive.
That is a vaccination for me.
Yeah. To bring about, to destroy unity or completeness of, change the appearance of, to squish the surface of.
Bodily harm. Immediate danger. Or, just to cover all bases, I have apprehension of such harm and contact.
Right. Of which, why wouldn't you?
When you're trying to force something on me, it makes me very apprehensive.
As it should. Forcing anything on anyone should make them apprehensive. Why do you have to force anything? Nothing should have to be forced. If you have to force something, your idea isn't that good. Like, that's what my Scarlet Anonymous page, or is it Clarity Dark on Twitter? Either one, I don't know. Has a picture that says socialism, ideas so good, they have to be mandatory.
Right.
The ideas so bad, they have to be mandatory. You know what I mean? Like, if your idea is so great, everybody should be willing then to take a stand to then do it.
Right.
If it is so great.
Right.
Everybody should be in tandem with you, like, oh yes, that seems like a very good idea. But
right.
The fact you have to force it because, vaccine hesitancy is the number one public health threat of the decade, the new decade, because we're asking questions on products that you have no liability for that we know cause death, destruction, and disease. How are we wrong?
Right.
I've just never seen anything like this. Where we're actually asking, hey, show us the science. They don't have any studies that prove that vaccines are safe. They have no studies to show us what that could actually mean.
Now, next week, guys, I'm going to have done my the rest of my investigation work to go back to, and I haven't quite proven it just yet. That's what I'm going to finish looking at. But I have found the evidence that we, quote unquote, anti-vaccines is not a new terminology. It's not a new thing. It goes back as late as 1902, I do believe. And it was, I do believe, started in Terre Haute, Indiana, even. But I believe that this was a time that they were trying to mandate vaccinations. Again, in our past history that we have kind of, I think, had hidden or whatever you want to call it, from us. But that's going to be next week's talk on this, because I think it's important for people to understand that as far back as the 1900s, people were already like, this is a bad idea, and there weren't even that many vaccines then. And people made a really big stand and a really big thing about it. And there were things that happened. So we're going to be covering that next week. So look into us next week for that. Now that was not in the previous show before. That's new info on this.
No, but what I did want to add, though, I believe, was the definition of medical battery.
Oh, right.
Because that was the last one, but we didn't know that didn't make it. So, because I was looking at medical assault, right? And I was trying to think of the term that I had looked up like 6 months ago that I had brought up on air that I cannot remember for the life of me, that basically proved like injecting somebody against their will is technically illegal and should be treated under the WHO as like a crime. But I found medical battery. Okay. So Legal Match wrote this article and said, what is medical battery? Medical battery is the intentional violation of a patient's right to direct their own medical treatment. Doctors must obtain a patient's informed consent when rendering non-emergency treatment. Now, where they would try to probably get around this is to say some vaccines are emergency and needed, but anyway, that's not the point. Now, they say if medical treatment is performed without the patient's consent or against their will, the patient may have a claim for medical battery even if the doctor did not intend to cause any harm. In a medical battery claim, there is generally no need to prove injury or negligence. However, in all battery cases, it is necessary to prove that the medical personnel engaged in unauthorized touching, contact, or handling of the victim, of which vaccines would come under play. The main point in dispute of most medical battery claims is whether the patient agreed to the treatment or whether they refused it. The patient may refuse treatment directly through advance directives or by way of healthcare proxy, which could be like a representative for you or signed in healthcare directives. Most states have laws governing medical battery, though they may vary by jurisdiction. Although it's not necessary to prove actual injury, the victim does need to prove some damage that resulted in unauthorized medical procedures. Therefore, the legal consequences of medical battery usually involve the compensation for the victim's losses. The amount of recovery available for the victim may still be limited according to statute. Medical battery is not the same as medical malpractice, which has to do with negligent acts performed by medical personnel. However, a single incident may involve both medical battery and malpractice. Additionally, medical battery may lead to criminal punishments if the defendant acted with criminal intent. Right. But the informed consent is the biggest issue. Did the patient accept treatment through informed consent? That is, the patient must be informed of all the potential outcomes of the treatment. All the potential outcomes of the treatment.
Right.
And they must be willingly consented to the procedure. And it says that the common defense is to prove that the patient actually consented. Now, here's the deal. If they decide to put, do they have incapacity to understand it? Now, if a doctor doesn't give you enough information, you would be considered incapable of rendering a medical decision based on informed consent, thereby making it medical battery.
Right.
I think this is something that more people need to try to go against doctors and go after doctors for is medical battery.
So,
all these kids who have been vaccinated in the NICU after their parents have said no and they've done it anyway, or during surgeries or whatever, these people need to go after them for this.
So, when you are at a doctor's office and they're like, are you fully vaccinated? Is your child fully vaccinated? And you say no, and they start berating you, start throwing this terminology around. Be like, listen, no, this is medical battery.
Yeah, you're not giving me true informed consent because I know for a fact that these things are in the medical insert as potential outcomes of the treatment. Therefore, I do not consent.
Right. Now, force.
So, and they say through their medical directives, so you guys, writing those on like your living will, saying no vaccines, no biologics, they do have to respect that.
Right.
Or they would have a medical battery case.
Right. Force is the violence, compulsion, or constraint exerted upon or against a person or thing. Violence or compulsion against a person. To do violence or to compel by physical, moral, or intellectual means.
Right.
Also, to press, drive, pass, or effect against resistance or inertia. To impose or thrust urgently or inexorably, to win by strength in struggle or violence, to produce only with unnatural or unwilling effect. Now,
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is so unrelated. Oh, it's remind me to tell you something after we get up here.
Now, violence is the use of physical force as to injure, abuse, damage, or destroy. Injury by or as if by distortion, infringement, or profanation.
Interesting.
Okay? Now, so with using the definition of violence there, I can't.
No, I honestly only sent it because I do not want to forget later. That's all.
Oh, I
It's
can't.
just totally unrelated to the topic we're talking
That's
about
funny.
right now. Isn't that funny? Did you see it?
Yes. So, now, just in the termination or I mean definition of violence.
You were going to try to say terminology. I already know.
I was. In violence, the use of physical force so as to injure, abuse, damage, or destroy.
Interesting.
Injury by or as if by distortion, infringement, or profanation. Distortion, infringement, injury, abuse, all things that mandated or forced vaccination are.
Yeah, infringement might be one to look up too.
We have infringement. It's coming.
So we have infringement? Okay.
Yes, we do. Abuse is a corrupt practice or custom. Or
Isn't that cute?
improper or excessive use or treatment. Or physical maltreatment. Maltreatment meaning to treat cruelly or roughly.
Right.
Or abuse can also mean to use without medical justification. Or to use or treat so as to injure or damage.
Oh, to use or treat to injure or damage.
Yep. Or to use without medical justification.
So if they're using it to try to damage, let's say, a childhood virus, that would also count.
I think it falls under that use without medical justification.
Oh, yeah, that too.
I think it also falls under the very first one, a corrupt practice or custom.
Yep.
Corrupt.
It is a corrupt practice.
How about we get that word, Scarlett?
Corrupt?
Corrupt.
Did we look up infringement, though?
We have infringement coming, yes.
Okay. So what were we looking up now?
Corrupt.
Corrupt. Okay. Corrupt. Corrupt. Corrupted. Corrupt. Definition, entry 1 of 2. Okay, so to change from good to bad in moral, manner, or action. Also see bribe. To degrade with unsound principles or moral values. To rot or spoil. To subject a person to corruption of blood. To subject a person of corruption of blood.
Mm-hmm.
Vaccine, right there. Corrupt.
Yep.
To alter from the original or correct form or version.
Oh, isn't that cute?
Isn't it? To become tainted or rotten. To become morally debased. To cause disintegration or ruin. Also, definition entry 2, as an adjective, the first was as a verb, a transitive verb, an intransitive verb. Now, to be morally degenerate and perverted, characterized by improper conduct, such as bribery or selling of favors, putrid or tainted, or adulterated, or debased by change from an original or correct condition. Vaccines are corrupt by definition.
Which makes them a corrupt practice, which makes them abuse.
Correct. That is correct. Because, yeah, if it was adulterated or debased by a change from an original or correct condition.
Yes.
And we know vaccines are adulterated because that's how they get the attenuated viruses, by adulterating viruses and bacteria in labs.
Right.
And they debase them in human albumin, cow albumin, dog kidney. That's how they're debased. Then cleansed out of the cells and then adulterated into the vaccine. So literally the definition.
Right. Damage is loss or harm resulting from injury to person, property, or reputation.
Interesting. Person, property, or reputation.
Right.
And that was the definition of what?
Damage.
Damage. defamation of character.
Correct. Now, injury. An act that damages or hurts, a violation of another's rights, for which the law allows an action to recover damages.
The law does not, and so let's repeat that one more time. Let's repeat that one more time, Ruth.
An act that hurts or a violation of another's rights for which the law allows an action to recover damages.
Now, what's that the definition of?
Well, that is the definition of injury.
Now, isn't that funny? Because you really can't get that now under the law. Technically, that's why they would try to say, oh, well, you can't sue anybody else because you can sue for damages. But can you really?
Right.
You know, anything else you can sue for damages, any other drug. So any other drug will be.
And there is a vaccine damaged injury court.
Yeah, the vaccine, but it's super hard to get in there.
It is. It is.
10 years plus.
I'm aware.
And half of the time they kick out the cases, and that's less than 1% of the actual reported cases.
Right.
So it's like they can try to act like, oh yeah, you can be compensated in a court, but you can't sue for damages.
Right.
They're not letting you sue for damages necessarily, and the damages that you get are so varied. Sometimes they only let you sue for medical bills. Sometimes they let you sue for pain and suffering. It all depends.
Injury also means hurt or loss sustained. Now, distortion is the act of twisting or altering something out of its true, natural, or original state.
Right.
Infringement.
Right.
Act of infringing, violation, and encroachment or trespass on a right or privilege.
Right.
Hold up, G.
Oh, so infringe means to encroach upon in a way that violates the law or right of another, i.e. infringe a pet.
Right, trespass on a right or privilege.
Yep.
Now,
okay, so they say choose the right synonym for infringe, and I think this is important to also go through. It says trespass, encroach, infringe, and invade mean to make inroads upon the property, territory, or rights of another. Trespass implies an unwarranted or unlawful intrusion, such as hunters trespassing on farmland. Encroach suggests gradual or stealthy entrance upon another's territory or usurpation of another's rights or possession. Infringe implies an encroachment clearly violating a right or prerogative.